Hey guys, and welcome to a brand new video here on the View from the Crowd YouTube channel, and today we're going to be previewing the Italian Grand Prix. Now this is the first of 3 races that we're going to see in Italy this season. Of course we have Monza coming up this weekend, next weekend we then have Mugello, and then later in the season we have Imola. But this one is going to be fairly predictable, probably pretty boring, and if anything it's probably going to be like Spa all over again. So yeah, let's just get into this one. At Spa, Mercedes were one word: dominant. No one really could touch them. Not even Verstappen really could get there. He did in qualifying, but in the race he was absolutely nowhere. And I fear it's going to be the same again this weekend. It's just, that Mercedes is just too good. It is. It's just too good. Honestly, it's we've been saying it all season, but now it's kind of sort of hit home that this is what we've got to deal with now. This car is just far too good. And as for which driver's going to do well, it's probably going to be Lewis Hamilton that comes out on top. Because Valtteri Bottas doesn't seem to have anything on Lewis Hamilton at the moment. He really needs to, seriously, we need like a brand new Bottas. Not this sort of Bottas 2.0, 3.0 was it. We need a whole new, start from scratch Bottas, because in his current form, he will not ever challenge Lewis for a world title. It's just not going to happen. Down to Red Bull, they were faster than I expected in Spa. You know, their new sleeker design on their car allows them to be that much, you know, that bit more faster sort of in low downforce setups, you know, rather than the high downforce setups that car is usually sort of, it does better with. And whether or not Verstappen or even Albon will do anything this weekend, I highly doubt it. You know, I think what we're going to see here at Monza is going to be more or less a carbon copy of what we saw at Spa. You know, they're kind of similar circuits. You know, they're very different, of course. That, you know, goes without saying. But, you know, the sort of the essence, the fact that they're low downforce, got long corners, the odd short, you know, slow corner here and there. Yeah, I don't see how, you know, Verstappen and sort of Red Bull can challenge this weekend. You know, it is a shorter lap, which means that sort of course you're going to lose less time through a lap. So that could play an advantage. You know, if you know, Verstappen is able to stay within DRS in the first few laps, he might be able to mount a challenge then. But Red Bull haven't really gone well in Monza over the last few years. It's not been a, you know, particularly great hunting ground for them. You know, they were absolutely nowhere. You know, Max started at the back of the grid, you know, last season. Alex was somewhere in the midfield, didn't really get out of there. You know, I don't see it going well for Red Bull this weekend. And any hopes of an upset, I think, are going to be pretty slim. But, you know, that's just my opinion, of course. We'll find out tomorrow what's actually going to happen. But I'm not exactly holding my breath. Now we move on to Ferrari. And it's probably a good thing that the Tifosi is not going to be there this weekend, because they will get slaughtered. You know, we need to see a big change from Spa if Ferrari have any hope of getting points this weekend, because their car was truly dreadful. You know, in a low downforce spec, it didn't work. It was not quick enough, and it was nowhere near challenging the likes, you know, even the likes of McLaren, Racing Point, Renault, who all had, you know, fairly decent weekends, you know, give or take. But yeah, I know I've seen some things saying that don't underestimate, you know, Ferrari's ability to sort of turn things around, but it's going to be major, you know, especially when there's only 1 week between Grand Prix. I think that may be a bit of a step, but, you know, it's Ferrari's, you know, it's a home race for Ferrari. They're going to go out there and they're going to have to try and give it their all, because otherwise they are going to get slaughtered in the Italian press. So if Ferrari maybe nab a point, it wouldn't surprise me too much, because they are going to be betting their souls that they are going to get that car in the points. this weekend rather than having the absolute shambolic weekend that they had last weekend. Now on to McLaren. After Lando Norris's P7, they now have moved back into P3 in the Constructors' Championship, and they're going to be hoping that they stay there, but it's going to be tough. Lando Norris's pace wasn't the best. He was nursing his tyres for a lot of that race, and that's what allowed him to, catch up, and pass Stroll and, catch up to Ocon and Albon at the end of the race. But in general, the race pace was not brilliant from McLaren. And of course, they only started with one car because Carlos Sainz had an exhaust failure on the install laps. So they're definitely going to be hoping that that doesn't happen again. And, with both cars on the grid this weekend, I think they're going to be hoping for, a bit better, having both cars in the points is definitely going to be a necessary sort of achievement for them, especially with Renault looking so quick. I think they're really going to have to sort of reevaluate, make sure that they learn some things that they just didn't do correctly in Spa, maybe bring it into Monza, and hopefully they'll have a better race. Now to Racing Point, they had a pretty disappointing weekend. They did get both cars in the points, but, their pace was well off where we expected them to be, especially given what that car is and who it was copied from. I definitely expected it to be a lot quicker, but it just didn't, wasn't it, I was kind of expecting to see something that we saw at, the 70th anniversary with Racing Point being, very clearly the third quickest car, but it looks like they're really sort of being, stuck in the mud in that midfield battle. It is becoming more tense and more tight, and I love it, the fact that we are actually having, close competition in the midfield rather than the sheer dominance and boredom that we have at the top of the field at the moment. So fingers crossed that Racing Point can be a little bit more competitive this weekend. Maybe stick it to the likes of Renault and McLaren rather than, just sort of fading away into the sort of bottom end of the top 10. On to the team that I've mentioned quite a few times already, and Renault. They had an absolute blinder in Belgium. Daniel Ricciardo qualifying P4, finishing P4. Only a few laps, and I think he could have caught Max Verstappen for P3. You then had Esteban Ocon, who had a very quiet qualifying, in P6, and then finished the race in P5. Did an amazing job, and they are now. I was, completely slagging them off, going, they're completely out of the race. At this point, they're going to need major change, and they proved me wrong completely. They changed it around. They did brilliant job, and I'm not sure why I'm so surprised. Last year at Monza they did so brilliantly. I think Daniel Ricciardo got P4 again. And, I think we can expect another good race from Renault this weekend. I think it's going to be definitely interesting to see what the other teams in the midfield have done to try and, catch up with them in that sort of short period of time. But I still expect Renault to be the team to be in that midfield battle. And, it's just amazing how much it fluctuates, how this team's on top and that team's on top. And it's just, it's... Why can't the championship be like this? Honestly. But no, expect big things from Renault, and especially Daniel Ricciardo this weekend. Now on to AlphaTauri. They had despite a bit of a blunder with Pierre's strategy, they did a very good job to sort of recover him, all the way back into P8. I think that was a stunning drive by Pierre Gasly. And, I keep saying this about AlphaTauri. They are this dark horse in this midfield battle. They definitely have a lot of pace. They definitely have a very good car underneath them. It's just because that midfield is so tightly compact, you can't expect them to get into like Q3, every weekend. So, what AlphaTauri are doing, they're doing a great job of, getting near Q3, not quite. Having that fresh rubber, having that sort of free choice of strategy and really making it work. And it's starting to wield results. Pierre Gasly is getting, pretty consistent point finishes this season. He's doing an amazing job and really showing why Red Bull chose him in the first place. And he's putting heaps of pressure on Alex Albon at the moment, who really is underperforming, as we saw in Belgium. Just really not good enough. And expect him there. Daniel Kvyat also was doing a brilliant job. His tyres have started to fade towards the end of the Grand Prix, which was a bit of a shame. But still, great drives, great job all round from AlphaTauri in Spa, and I expect, with them being an Italian team, this technically is their home race, they are going to want to do well, and I think they can do very well. Now on to the calamitous, I don't know what my nickname is for these anymore, the calamitous Ferrari customers I'm now dubbed them, Alfa Romeo and Haas. Wasn't the best of weekend for Haas last week. They just weren't really on the pace. They were slow, battling with the Ferraris most of the time. I guess that sort of gave them a bit of hope that things aren't all too bad. But remember, they are buying their engines off Ferrari, and basically their cars are more or less carbon copies of previous Ferraris. So no, it's not looking good for Haas, and I think it's going to be another difficult weekend for them. They don't have the speed. They don't really have much of a car. Maybe an alternative strategy might try and help them, but staying outside the top 10 is definitely my prediction for Haas this weekend. Along with Alfa Romeo, Kimi Raikkonen did an amazing job in Spa to, finish ahead of both Ferraris, and whether or not he'll be able to replicate that, I don't know. He is a very good driver, especially given his age. He's still able to compete and do an amazing job. Whether or not he will, replicate that and finish ahead of the Ferraris again, we can only see. But if he does, then there seriously needs to be questions about that Ferrari team. Because it just can't happen. You can't have a customer car finishing ahead of you. It's like the Red Bulls can't have AlphaTauri finish ahead of them. If that starts to happen consistently, then something is going horrendously wrong. And that's what's going on at Ferrari at the moment. The fact that you are being, on pure pace, done out by your customer team. It's not good. But it's Antonio Giovinazzi's home race. He'll definitely be hoping for good points. He did get points at the last year's Italian Grand Prix, so he'll definitely want to replicate that this season. Whether or not it'll be likely is unsure, because anything can happen in the races. But if I was to put money on it, I would probably say that both Alphas will finish outside the top 10, which is a shame, but it's just realistic. Now on to Williams. They did a great job of getting George Russell into Q2 last weekend, and he said he was surprised that he got into Q2, but for me, that was not surprising at all, and I reckon he'll be able to do it again. I think that Williams, with the Mercedes engine behind them, they're definitely going to be able to, get that car into Q2. And for Nicholas Latifi, I think he can get off the back row of the grid. I don't see the Ferrari cars doing particularly great here, so I think it'll be a big thing for Nicholas Latifi to maybe just push that car off the back of the grid. But in terms of the race, again, they didn't show me much in Spa, and of course we didn't see much from George Russell as he was taken out on lap 10 by Giovinazzi's stray wheel, which is a shame, but still Nicholas Latifi was last, so no, it's not good enough from Williams in terms of a race pace standpoint. But if you qualify higher up the grid, it gives you a better chance in the race. Monza isn't exactly a track that you can just park it in the middle of the road. It's got two massive straights, and with the DRS it's fairly easy to overtake into turn 1. So expect to maybe see a bit more battling than we saw in Spa, but hopefully it won't be the bore fest that Spa was. Of course, the big news for Williams, literally coming out a couple of hours ago at the time of recording this, is that Claire Williams and Frank Williams are stepping down as team principal and deputy team principal of the Williams team. And it is sad to see the Williams family leave Formula One, and we're sort of grateful that their car name, their name will stay on the car. But while it is a sad time to see Claire and Frank go, it is kind of necessary. You only had to watch Drive to Survive last year to see, Williams are in a bit of a shambles when it comes to their leadership and the way it's run. It's not a slick operation, and that is the reason why they were so far off the pace last season. Their team was a bit of a calamity. They've managed to sort of fix things for this season, but they're still at the back of the grid. And if they hope to still, to push up the grid, change is going to need to happen, because what we've seen from Williams, since since like 2011, 2012, it's just this big decline, and we've seen just how bad it's got at Williams, and it's not what we want to see. Williams is such an iconic name in Formula One that we don't want to see it disappear, and I think the best thing that it's a tough decision to step down, but I think it's for the best. Let someone else come in, change the management style, and hopefully it will mean that we get to see a more competitive Williams car in the future, which I think everyone in Formula One wants to see, because for too long they've been at the back of the grid, and we don't like it when teams fall to the back of the grid, and we want a competitive championship as possible with as many teams as able to win. And if Williams can add their name to that sort of contenders list, along with like some McLaren, we could really see some of the old days back. You got the Mercedes, you got the Mercedes, you've got the Ferrari, you got the McLaren, you got the Williams, all fighting out for wins, week in, week out. And hopefully this is the start of something new for Williams, and we're going to see a much better and much more competitive team. So guys, that has been my preview for the Italian Grand Prix. If you did enjoy this, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe down below. If you don't follow my blog already, the link to that is going to be down in the description. I do my race review on there, so how it works, the preview is on here, and the race review is done on my blog. So if you want to check that out, the link's down below. Hit the follow button and you'll be notified anytime I put any new content on there, which at the moment is fairly frequent. I've been, with the whole world of sport, coming back to life. It's been nice to sort of start getting into the swing of things again, and hopefully, barring any sort of mad uni work, hopefully be able to, keep that going throughout the next year. So guys, thank you so much for watching. My name's been Louis Edwards. Thank you.